All right, let's open this bad boy up. Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever episode, the pilot, the test, for a brand new show called Around the Pit. My name is Toffees, as always, bringing you the action here, and I am joined by some very special guests tonight. First up is the professor of Dota himself, the man with all of the knowledge, started in stats and now sits at the desk. It's Alan Bester, or how you may know him best, Nahaz Dota. How you doing tonight, Nahaz?
I'm doing great, man.
All right, second up is David Gorman. He is one of the leaders of BTS, someone that you probably know from shoutcasts, lovably from certain things that he said, phrases that are just too famous to repeat. I don't know. Wow, I guess I can't say anything about it, but I'm glad to have you here. Wow.
Wow, man, fuck this show. I'm out.
That said, we're glad to have you here. I'm excited to see what you and Gerg get up to. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Always a pleasure to get to play my boy Gerg and to have people watch while I do it. It's a real voyeur experience all around.
As opposed to it being a private affair when you normally play me. So it's like, doesn't stop. It's just, now it's public. Yeah.
I approve of this.
Which brings us
and LD's already gone, by the way.
Which brings us to our last guest. This is Greg Laird, WhatIsHip TV, the Gerg. You may know him from a whole lot of different things, but what you definitely know him from is the fact that he speaks his mind, whether or not anyone cares to hear about it. Greg, how you doing this evening?
I was doing better before Nahaz showed up, but I'm still pretty good.
Well, we all were. And I should say because he was late, and then, way to roll in here after hours. It's all right. So what you just heard there was the buzzer. We're going to hear a couple of buzzers throughout the show. The first buzzer you hear at the topic is the 8-minute mark. Every topic gets 8 to 11 minutes for discussion. Basically, at the 8-minute buzzer, it becomes open season. If someone makes a good point, I will hit this sound again, and the round ends. We move on to the next one. At any point during the show, one of the guests can choose to soapbox, and that means they get an extra 45-second monologue on the back end of that topic. So if they feel strong and they didn't get their point across, they can jump in and get themselves heard. That said, I will also be assigning points arbitrarily for good comments, things that are funny or just generally interesting, maybe even uninteresting sometimes. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game will contain the Aegis. They get to be called the winner, and they get an invite back for next week, as well as a 1-minute monologue to say anything that they please. Without further ado, let's get into this show. First topic, as voted on by the folks during the pre-show, it's going to be EG. So here's the topic, gentlemen. I'll start the timer in just a second. It's open chat. Do whatever you want. I'm just here to make sure it doesn't get out of control. EG has chosen not to play in the Nanyang tournament. This is a $200,000 tournament that EG basically released a statement that said, hey guys, we need to focus on other things. We need to practice more. We're just not going to be there. So is this going to become the norm? What do you think about EG saying no to this tournament? Are they making the right choice? And the timer starts now.
All right, I have a request for the future. Can you pick a first person to start?
All right, Greg, why don't you start us out?
Okay, well, all right.
Good, a really smooth power move there, Greg.
Thanks. That's a mafia move right there. In Nanyang Championships, a new tournament in China. I mean, EG still hasn't gotten paid for DAC.
It's not in China, Greg. It's in Singapore.
Whatever, dude.
There's a pretty big fucking difference in terms of the experience there.
They're pretty close to each other on a
great
map.
Start there, Greg.
We're giving a point to LD for that one.
Okay, fuck all of you. And I mean, I don't know. They're just gonna play one tournament a month, one LAN a month. Why cramp your schedule when you just won $1 million?
Okay,
Well,
that's fair.
First of all, it was over 6 million. I mean, who's counting?
$1 million per person, you goddamn. Aren't you like an economics professor? Can't you divide?
So, I mean, to me, this is kind of a non-story. It is a $200,000 LAN. It's not small change, but this is a full week in Asia. Less than a month before the fall major begins. We don't have the details of the fall major yet. We know that EG will be playing in ESL New York. I'm not sure about New Orleans, whether they're going to make it there, but we're going to see EG at least one major LAN in the States. To me, the biggest aspect of this story is that NA will now not be represented to this tournament, because this is a tournament that's direct invite only. It doesn't have a qualifier phase that I'm aware of. So they elected to go ahead and take another.
It does have qualifiers, but there's no direct invites for NA teams.
Yeah. Okay. So there are going to be NA qualifiers.
There is an NA qualifier. It starts tomorrow. So assuming they don't back out last minute, they actually get well. I don't think they need visas for North America, but assuming they go, because there was what was that event where like an NA team qualified? I think it was Major All Stars that ultimately just backed out last minute and they got replaced by an Asian team. EHUG, yeah. So assuming that an EHUG situation doesn't happen, there will be an American team there. Maybe maybe a South American team qualifies.
Okay, so the question. So let's expand on that. Let's say this: is this going to be commonplace? Do you think for top tier teams to pick and choose what tournaments they play on? And is $200,000 no longer enough to tempt a top team to play?
I don't think it has. I don't think it's just about the amount of money. I think it's about the travel. I think it's about the timing. I mean, we're talking about the fall major possibly beginning 2 weeks. This is November 1st, and we're talking about the fall major possibly beginning on November 15th. So I think that's right in prime boot camp territory. I think you are going to see teams continue to play, because I think going into TI, a lot of teams to me looked like they over boot camped. Mm-hmm. And two of the big surprises of the tournament, I guess LGD wasn't really a surprise, but CDEC were also two of the more active teams in terms of continuing to play pro matches leading up to TI. So I don't think you're going to see teams hide, but I do think you're going to see top teams especially manage their schedules, and it's going to be as much about the travel as it is about the prize money.
I mean, there's two ways that teams think about this. There's like two approaches, I should say. Mm-hmm. There's the team secret approach, which appears to be playing everything you get invited in, including a LAN in Slovenia, which we'll talk about later, for like 50K. Or you can take the EG approach and not travel to places you don't like traveling to and just playing like one LAN a month. I mean, I think that strategy is probably better. I mean, I understand why
two very different situations, though.
Yeah, because they have a brand new roster.
Well,
so
that's the whole. Okay, there's literally one team that is not playing this event as far as like the big name teams that would have been considered for direct invites, and that's EG. So I wouldn't read too much into
other teams like turn this down though.
Name an example of a team that turned it down. That
not a direct invite, but like Fogg's team got invited to play in the qualifiers and then turned it down because they don't want to travel.
Yeah, okay, so that's fair. But I'm saying, like, by and large, to me, it's much more like EG is a very unique situation, right? Where they've hardly changed their roster. They have 2 direct invites on home soil to ESL. I think it was already announced that they're playing MLG on Twitter as well. So they're already playing these 2 events, which are very conveniently in North America. They know they have to travel to the fall major. Like, in their particular case, it doesn't really make sense. But I think for most other teams, like, unless they have a really stable roster and they've had great results recently, they're probably going to be more open to events like this. Now, that said, I think in Nanyang's case as well, like, let's be honest, the track record for Southeast Asian tournaments, period, is fucking atrocious. Like, Major All-Stars was just terrible. Way back in Dota 1, SMM used to be a pretty good event, but at the same time, like, the standards were a lot lower back then, and SMM is not really active, and certainly not in Dota 2 anymore. It's because it's directly related to Blizzard, so they can't do Dota 2. But
I mean, you said it. I was going to say, is there a track record? Right, because
there
really,
is, but not a good one.
Right, in Dota 2 at least. But I mean, I hope to see this event succeed, and I think it can succeed perfectly well without EG. I think there are a lot of really good teams out there that need reps, that need to play. It's not just secret. I mean, you're seeing a lot of these rosters reforming around star power, and you're seeing some of the teams really look new. I mean, Kuro's team in the games that we saw them, they really looked new together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and I liked your point, LD, that you said essentially EG is the only one that's turning this one down. Track record may come into play here. Is there anything besides track record that would chase off a team like that, or are they just
I think we already discussed travel.
Right.
It's an unproven organizer in general, but that goes to track record of the organizer. I expect better, though. The organization behind it, Key TV or LGD TV, definitely seems a lot more professional in terms of how they've announced the event, how they've communicated with the teams, and historically that's been the biggest issue with a lot of these tournaments, right? Is they will tell the teams one thing. Like, do you guys remember the I-League fiasco? I think it was not the most recent season, but the one before that, where They announced the 300K base prize pool, and then they said like, oh no, actually that's like what it's at now with crowdfunding, or we meant 100,000
or something.
Yeah.
I remember that.
There've been a couple of those.
It was probably more like a communication issue than anything, but bottom line is it doesn't look good to the players and the Westerners. So I think they're going to do a pretty good job with this, and then I think we might see teams like EG more open to playing these events. But if there's ever a choice between a North American event or a non-North American event, EG is going to pick the North American one 9 times out of 10.
Especially, yeah. I mean, and for my credit, all the organizers are Chinese, so fuck you, David.
So, you know what? I'm actually.
You get like a quarter of a point back.
I'm gonna give it. Yeah, we're
What?
gonna give you a.
Was that even a flame?
Yeah, we're gonna give him a 1.5.
Wasn't a flame. That was just
half point.
fact.
I'll give you a half point for a fuck you, LD, because it's tough. LD has actually racked up so many points in this round from knowing the history of SEA tournaments.
Points?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Are you giving him points for like blinking?
No, he's made good points.
When he does the eyebrow thing, is that good for a point?
Well, if it's
No, he's getting points for not being an idiot, Greg.
Oh, all right. Well, planes. Never mind.
There you go. So
Oh
you
my
get
god.
I like
straight
it.
to the glasses. All right, so I think we got 30 seconds left in the topic. Does anybody have a last thought before we move on to the next one?
No.
All right, I think we've said pretty much everything we need to about this one. So let's reset the clock and let's just move on to the next topic. Now, I didn't list this one because it's a surprise. I actually just heard this from a source that I can tell you is 100% reputable and has gotten an email to just now that says, Dear Dota 2 teams, we're very sorry to announce that the Dota 2 tournament has been canceled. Followed by a full explanation and statement from the resort tournament that is supposed to start. In fact, the CSGO version just started a couple of hours ago.
What is this?
They canceled the gaming resort
They
LAN?
canceled the gaming resort LAN officially about
What?
an hour ago.
Isn't it in like
Can
2
you
days?
like this? What? Have the teams already started traveling there?
I heard from somebody who is involved with the teams that they got the email today that this is being prepared. A full statement will be out by the end of day, September 9th. It's in our hopes that a full explanation will help resolve some of the issues created and provide a basis for transparent communication and a good collaboration. Please accept our sincerest apologies. So we were going to talk a little bit about how the hell do you lose a bunch of computers, but apparently, how do you lose a tournament?
This is this week.
This is the breaking news I was talking about. Yeah, we started, I think, 2 days. The CSGO tournament started today, or was supposed to, but started late because they lost their computers.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When I heard this tournament got announced, I thought it was a fucking joke.
I did too!
The entire tournament concept was we're gonna have like a paradise resort tournament. Like, who the fuck goes to the beach to play Dota? Let's be real here. So,
I gave you the points for that. I wish I had a dinger too.
Oh my god.
I did not
so
take this
funny.
seriously when it was announced. Then it seemed like, okay, maybe they've got their shit together. You know, they got Toby casting, so like clearly Toby would never work an event that's not serious and top notch. And then all this shit happened. So
Well,
Was that a flame of Toby, by the way? Apparently, he is casting CSGO.
Nahaz points for catching
nah,
LD.
bro. I'm backing my boy LD. That's not a flame.
is Toby want CSGO still casting the CSGO portion, or is that canceled as well?
I don't know about the CSGO. I know that they had a really tough day today on CSGO, so I don't know what they're doing there. But I do know some teams have already booked tickets or started to fly out. Casters are there. Press is there. CSGO teams are obviously there.
Well, the CS thing is still happening, right?
I don't know about
Possibly
CSGO.
cancel the event when all the teams are already there.
So they probably just canceled the
Oh,
Dota.
and this is and I mean this is not nothing. This was secret VP NIP.
LOL.
Yeah, LOL.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, no, there are at least a couple of teams in this list that would have had to start taking flights probably today.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised these teams agreed to play this event, to be honest. Not just because it sounded like a scam or a joke, but also like the prize pool's pretty low. They're a new organizer. It was all very last minute, but I think teams were just fiending to play and practice. Like, it's actually kind of a problem, right? If you this brings up another issue to me. Like after TI, there was not a single event of any scale before the roster lock. So these teams literally had nothing. I had IX Mike messaging me on Skype like, "When are you guys gonna do the next BTS Americas? We want to practice before the roster lock." I'm like, "Well, we're doing one in September, but not before the roster lock. It's like 3 weeks." So
Right.
I don't know if we're gonna see this level of reshuffling in the future, but it's definitely an issue, right?
I think we will, but I think
no chance to practice.
I think we will, but I think a lot more tournaments will realize that there's a big first mover advantage. I think a lot of tournaments are going to realize that teams are going to, if the roster locks are going to be this soon after TI, there is going to be demand, at least for regional tournaments, in the month after TI. I don't think we're going to see this.
Right, someone definitely could have held like a $5,000 regional tournament.
Exactly.
And, like, every team would have played in it. That's not like
and there's a lot of fan appeal
2
just
points.
to see how there's a lot of fan appeal just to see new faces with new faces, how these
I
rosters
agree.
are going.
How do you organize a live event like that, right? Do you just invite 8
oh,
teams?
you fucking can't, dude.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
think it
saying
has to
though.
be
Like
online.
maybe it could be an online tournament, but
Yeah.
Sure.
like, that's not necessarily the best practice. It's better than nothing. I agree.
It's
There will
regional,
be
it's,
more.
Like, fine, it's whatever. You make one for NA, one for EU. Like, it's not
Like
perfect,
for example, like for the Summit 4, it's probably going to be shortly after what I think is the winter roster lock, which I believe is like December 3rd or 6th or something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
So, like let's say you run your qualifiers, you have some direct invites. These teams go to the fall major. One of them performs like shit, or they have a big, blow up, and then they just disband, or they replace 3 players. Should they still be at that tournament? And if not, how do you replace them with like a week's notice? Because you're not going to know about the shuffle until after the major's over.
Yeah,
So
I think it has to be online, but like just like a little online, like 5K, like.
I think it's going to be a real. Well, let's say you wait then. So now you've got like a month, like 1 month to run every event, which is what we're seeing right now. You've got Key TV, MLG event, and ESL all in the same month, because that's the month where there's a month after the roster lock, so you have time for teams to to get the rosters together, to be invited and have a stable lineup, or to qualify and run the qualifier.
Remember, part of this is literally enforced by Valve, because Valve didn't really give anybody hard dates for quite a while.
There's not even major dates.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is going to be a very different kettle of fish next year, when the calendar is a little bit more set and we all have a bit more of an idea of what's going on. I think you're going to see tournaments. I mean, as things were, it's very, very hard to plan a tournament after TI, before TI. And ESL and MLG can't just wait for TI to plan their tournaments. So,
No, they can't. Like especially if you're ESL and you're booking Madison Square Garden Theater.
Right.
You need that 6 to 9 months of advance minimum, if not a year.
Right.
So yeah, for stuff like that, it's not remotely possible.
No, and I think a lot of this is. I think this is one of many things you're going to see this year that are sort of transitional effects to the major calendar.
So, do we think that the reason that the Resort Gaming Tournament was able to get so many decent named teams, because they were the only game in town to sort of test your skill out of the gate, and you were willing to take sort of a risk?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I looked at the pictures and was like, and then I looked up the Google Earth and was like,
No, I think it's they were the first movers in terms of having the first LAN event after the first big LAN event after TI, and frankly, at the end of the day, the players want to go, and if they get knocked out early, they can go to the beach. I mean, hell with it, why not?
well, obviously.
There you go.
And it's a nice benefit, but apparently it's not. I think Charlie gets a free point for making the saying in chat, I don't understand how they sent out this email when they don't have any computers to send emails on. I thought that was very.
They got a cell phone, dude.
Fucking Charlie,
A single cell phone.
I was gonna say,
But
Also,
but you need a PC to send an email.
okay, apparently they didn't lose the computers. Something happened with the computers, and they didn't have graphics cards. And since it was a Sunday, everything was closed, so they couldn't get new graphics cards. I don't know. The whole situation's fucked.
I mean,
But
everything
was
about
reading
it is
on
wrong.
subreddit, and they were like, "Well, we actually have the computers, but we don't have like graphics cards, so they don't really work." And I was like, "Oh, sick."
Then you
That
don't
sounds
have
awesome.
the computer. I mean,
Wow. Okay. Now, that is something to... I did see a tweet earlier, though, that they basically sent somebody out to pick up what they needed in a car and then lost track of their driver for a couple of hours. And that was one of the
Yeah, and then like
issues.
everything is
Oh, dude,
closed because in
that's-
Europe on Sundays
that's
things
good.
actually close. And they didn't have graphics cards apparently.
This is
Apparently
a goddamn shit show.
apparently
Jesus
they
Christ.
thought the best idea was to wait until the day the tournament was supposed to start to buy graphics
Okay,
cards.
now the
for their
gurging
computer.
begins.
There we go.
Because
I like it.
that really is the foresight you need to run an international LAN event. At
All
a
they're
game
all they're
resort.
missing, Greg, is passion and calculation.
Yeah, that's what they need.
Oh my god!
I'm giving you know, I
Put the sunglasses back on.
I'm taking away a point for that. 9. That was good though. All right, so not Nanyang. This one we talked about before. Gaming Resort Tournament or whatever the hell it was called. Dota 2 apparently not going to happen. CS:GO plagued by all kinds of crazy town. I forgot to hit the start on the timer for this topic, so we're about to wrap up. Do you guys have any last thoughts on how you lose computers? How do you lose a Dota 2 tournament? I do want to ask that. Is that something?
I'm sure they just looked at the shit show and the fact that the CS:GO tournament started at midnight today, and were like, maybe we can't actually do all this shit. So let's just cancel it now before all these teams fly out here and want to kill us all in person. Because it'd be much better if we just got some rude emails versus like, you know, someone angrily walking over and Envy just stabbing them and then blogging about it.
I don't know. No, that would have been quite the blog. But let me ask you this. Okay, so you've obviously organized large tournaments for Dota 2, and Greg, you've sort of organized online tournaments that take 16 years to play out, but eventually
That's not on me, dude. I'm not the organizer for that event.
Are we still blaming Secret for that, Greg?
No,
I'm not the organizer for that event. I'm not blaming anyone. That event is now entirely out of my hands.
Greg, are you allowed to tell the story of why you deleted your tweet?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. Some things are off limits.
So in the last, we have a minute left. LD, what would it take for you to actually cancel a summit after invites, after people have booked tickets? I mean, it seems like it'd have to be pretty paramount to force you to try to cancel a tournament versus making it work.
Probably a really big earthquake in California.
I was literally just gonna say that. I mean, you've just destroyed your brand. Like, you are not hosting an event after this. Period.
Well, the good news is they didn't have a brand to begin with, so there's nothing to destroy.
Nothing to lose.
The really good news is
but if we did, we would lose something, right? So
Good point.
They relaunch it under a new name, get a new email address, they could do it all over again.
Exactly, but they probably can't choose the same country since who the fuck has ever run a Dota tournament?
Okay, can we move on? This is.
I'm sorry, man.
I'm just saying.
I'm enjoying this.
If you went to the website,
yeah, I know
and
this
looked
is a
at
gurging topic.
I'm enjoying this.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and put an end to that topic. We'll move on to the next one. And this is one that came up, and I'm going to bring it up because not only did it pop up, but it popped up on every pro player's Twitter. It took over Reddit in about 15 minutes, and it has been talked about a lot over the last, I would say 6 months to a year, all the way back to Summit. When we were there was a big issue as well, or some talk about it. This is NoobfromUA, the man who I think is actually a team of people, post things within 3 minutes after they come out. My question is simple, and it's the dichotomy is there. Is this wrong? Is this right? Should we even give a fuck? And we'll start the timer. I don't even know if we'll use it all.
And who's starting?
Let's go ahead. You know what, LD, is somebody who's probably had his stuff ripped off before. We'll start with you.
So I want to begin this discussion by just saying, where the fuck were all you Redditors when this happened about 9 months ago, and you were, by and large, butthurt that we initially asked NoobfromUA to take his...
Holy shit, Suns fan got crucified on Reddit for calling this guy out for exactly the shit that now magically everybody's pissed about. What I want to fucking know is... I mean, you get a copyright claim filed against you on YouTube for farting. Like, how can this guy possibly exist? I don't.
Most of those are automated.
Well, yes, of course.
Dude, have you ever tried to actually report a video as like against copyright on YouTube? There are fucking like 4 pages for every video you report.
No, Greg. But the thing is, if you report something, it almost always like just every video I've ever reported is just down like
really
that.
Just auto down. All right.
It's like down within like 5 minutes. So
I've started it
no,
like
if you're motivated enough to fill out those 4 pages, they take the fucking.
I'm like, I fucking.
I love filling out the paperwork.
I'm gonna be honest. I've started it like 4 times, and I'm like, man, this just isn't fucking worth it. You know, I'm done here. I just close the tab, move on with my life.
No, I think you like the thing with NoobfromUA is he does make good content that's actually his own content, and I think because of that, a lot of people get a little confused and muddled on the real issue. And the issue is not that like NoobfromUA is a terrible person or that he's always stealing content or whether or not it's stealing versus copyright infringement. Like there's a lot of tangential issues that people like to mix up because fundamentally,
but that is Reddit.
Convenient. Like it's.
I mean, that's what Reddit does.
Channel. Right.
And that's what Reddit does. And this is very simple. Like this guy is posting others' work and not saying it's others' work. This is
he literally took the Summit 2 All-Star match, which was like just an unbelievable hit. He literally ripped the VOD, which he apparently recorded like he just records the entire stream, I guess, and then he within like 30 minutes he uploads an unedited VOD, not like a clip from Dota TV, not like a collection of highlights, just an unedited like 2-hour VOD with camera shots, our overlays, our commentators, everything.
So let me jump.
He fucking invaded my house, man. He stole my
fucking house.
He was in your house. He pissed on your rug. On your rug, dude. That said, though, let me ask, is this the issue? Is the issue the fact that he puts up content? Because a lot of folks are arguing, well, it's all free reign. It's on Dota TV. Or is it the fact that he's showing your camera work, your overlays, your edits, the things that you sort of added to the flavor of the Twitch?
Okay, so I wanna just have a minute here to explain this. So
are you taking your minute?
I am taking my minute. No interruptions.
Wow.
Minute.
All right. We're gonna stop the overall clock, and I will give you 45 seconds, no interruptions, do your thing.
Okay, so at TI5, I actually brought this up with Valve. For all of you who don't remember, there was an incident where Suns fan got really upset about NoobfromUA taking the TI like interview things they did with the players and just uploaded them straight to his YouTube. And everyone's like, Suns fan, why do you care? That's not your content. You guys have done the same thing. Here's the issue is if Valve doesn't care about it and they don't say anything about it, then effectively it makes anybody who ever says stop taking my content and ripping it and just upload it to your YouTube channel, they just look like an asshole. The thing is, for Valve, it really doesn't matter. They don't care about YouTube revenue. Of course they don't fucking care. They're making all their money off compendiums, off of the game. It's also just not on their radar. Valve are not primarily content producers as far as video content goes. It's very much a side project. So the issue with that whole situation was people got distracted by the fact that it was Suns fan complaining when the core issue is if Valve doesn't take a stand, then everyone who ever tries to argue with this type of behavior kind of looks like an asshole. I think now at this point with all the players getting upset, it probably gets addressed. And Suns fan is not an asshole for getting upset about it. He doesn't have good Reddit game, as he's often admitted, but that doesn't mean he was wrong then, and he's certainly not wrong now. You
got 4 seconds left. 3, 2.
Fuck, dude, I had something ready for this.
That's good. That's good. Crushed it. All right. All right.
It's not working. Fuck. I had the GG button ready.
So that was I'm not gonna lie. That was a pretty good tangent. That was pretty impressive.
It wasn't even a tangent. I mean, that is the issue, and you know, as well as good a job as Valve does a lot of times protecting the interests of the players, I really do wish that every so often they would do a little bit better job protecting the interests of content producers.
I don't know.
That's a really big part of their game and their community, and you have to be able to monetize your content.
Okay, here's my devil's advocate position to this, which I think is not always true. In the instance of something like the All-Star match, is definitely not true. But the fact of the matter is that if he didn't upload some of these things, they would never get seen by anyone. They would get buried in the Twitch stream highlights because no fucking streamer or pro player in Dota uploads their own VODs fucking ever. So NoobfromUA is bringing people new content when he does that. But I personally don't think that just uploading from someone's Twitch stream is like kosher. Like you can't fucking do that. If you take it from Dota TV, sure, you do whatever the fuck you want from Dota TV. That is yours. But
that is currently Valve's position, is to the extent that they have a position, and they've never said it publicly, but my understanding of their position, and maybe I'm wrong, and that's just because they never spoke it out, is that if it's from Dota TV, it's fair game. And the thing where it's tricky is when it includes the commentator audio, right? Or even for a tournament, you could argue, yeah, Valve owns the Dota content, and they're entitled to do that, but does it really make sense when the tournament organizer is putting up a gigantic prize pool, or at least a sizable one, when they're paying for production costs, when they're paying travel support for the teams? Like NoobfromUA is doing nothing to make the event possible, and then just ripping a clip where he's not doing anything in source filmmaker, he's not really doing anything to add it or make it unique in any way. It's just a clip of it. Is that okay? That's a little bit gray, and I think what makes it tricky is Valve doesn't have a position and has never said anything about it, really.
And
look, it's. I mean, look, as an economist, it's not gray. That is, it hurts the viability of the entire model. It really does. I mean, and I know, I actually am somewhat sympathetic to Greg's point that this is a guy that because of his name, because of what he does put footage up that might not otherwise get seen. But at the end of the day, I don't think the value of that is enough to offset the fact that, you know, he's getting money that other people should be getting.
Right.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything to get it. Like,
it's Greg.
Not also uploading.
That's their decision.
Greg. I mean, I think I still think it's wrong and fucked up. But my point is that he's providing a service that no one else provides in that instance.
Well,
of course
there are other YouTube creators who do the same thing as well. But
That's
first of all,
fair.
there's lots of people who
fair.
rip VODs. He's not the
Yeah.
only one. He's just the most
biggest
successful.
one, yeah.
So that's the first point. There will always be someone who replaces him. If he disappears, there'll be like this. There's this Dota 2 tournaments channel, and I'm not sure how much you guys will follow this. Like it's like fucking whack-a-mole. Like you get the channel, channel eliminated, they pop right back up with a new one and start ripping VODs from every
instantly fucking monetize. Like it's just.
No, but you're right. He's filling a need in the market, but it's still the player's choice not to make money off of that now. Maybe in a year they decide, oh, I want to make I want to go back into Arteezy Classics, and Arteezy hires some guy who trolls through every single VOD and finds like the top 100 moments from a stream and organizes them into a library, cuts them up. He still owns the footage. He doesn't magically not own it because he decided not to make money off it right away.
Oh, of course not.
The fact that NoobfromUA is quicker to market doesn't mean that he's legally allowed to do it, or that he should be allowed to.
If it comes down to legally, I mean, it's pretty.
Well,
let's
not use the word legal.
Not legally, but whatever. Morally, sure, whatever. But people are gonna keep watching these videos. People are gonna keep watching new videos. If he stops doing this,
honestly, part of this is also on Twitch. Part of this happens because Twitch's organization of VODs is not very good. If their interface was better in terms of being accessible and being able to sort of organize and view highlights, I think some of this goes away. But I don't think you can defend what the guy does. I mean, he does make some content, but it's just got to stop.
All right, that's that topic. We'll leave it on it's Twitch's fault. I will say Greg got 7 points for taking the devil's advocate stance and then lost 3 of those for then refuting his own devil's advocate argument.
Oh, fuck you.
Well, you can't take devil's advocate and be like, but I don't really believe that. Anywho. All right, so moving on to the next topic. I put up a straw poll and nobody voted, so I'm not going to do that again.
You have to change the link for the straw poll because you can't vote twice.
Oh, fair point. Oh, well, fuck it.
Fucking noob.
Something. It's a test show, all right?
Dog shit. How many points did I dock for that, Toppies?
I don't have points, or it would have been an awful lot. I can assure you of that.
Wow.
All right, so let's talk about. Here's a good one. This will probably be a short topic. Vega won the Open to go to New York ESL. Somebody brought this up, and I thought it was a good question. Would they have been the European CDEC had more teams been allowed to qualify for TI's main event? Do you think that we hurt ourselves by not allowing enough small teams and non-direct invites into TI?
I think they would have done very well in the field, and I think that it actually really ended up hurting them that they had to play CDEC first in the play-in.
Honestly, I think that the two obviously the 2 wildcard teams that got through were way better than anyone expected, but I think every team in that qualifier was pretty competitive. And I don't know if there's anything you can really do about it though, because I do not think more direct invites is the solution to anything. Like the fact that we're getting direct invites to all these tournaments drives me insane. Why is Secret getting invited to fucking anything based on merit? Why are they at ESL 1 New York? It's 4/5 of Cloud9.
Because they sell tickets, Greg. It's actually that simple. I mean, you could you could make the argument in Secret's case specifically. They are defending champions of ESL 1, right? Like
Puppy is the defending
the
champion.
Organization won ESL 1, but then you only have Puppy.
Yeah, but hold on, LD.
It is
hold
also
on a second. They got
also,
invited to 3 lands in the course of 2 days. So that's not just an ESL returning champion. These guys are getting invites on the.
Well, let me ask you, Greg. Should we not invite Secret to the summit? They won the last summit.
No, LD, don't.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Okay. I wanted your professional opinion, Greg.
I do agree with the fact that I think all of these tournaments should have at most half the teams direct invites.
Yeah, I agree. But a lot of it is just related to the problem that we were talking about earlier, is that there's not enough fucking time to do qualifiers because none of these teams existed.
That's what I was trying to say. That part of this is just an artifact of the compressed schedule. And that ESL EU qualifier, by the way, that was brutal, man. Those are some pretty good teams, and those are some really close games.
Brutal in terms of schedule, or brutal in terms of just some really great games?
Brutal in terms of just some really good teams that are not going to be playing.
Okay.
I mean, that's first of all, I just want to say, Alan, I don't think it's a very bold position to say there shouldn't be more than half direct invites, because outside of TI, what event ever had more than half direct invites? I can't think of very many off the top of my head.
Okay, I admittedly I am a little bit sore after TI because I was the one that argued in a very loud voice, as I do everything on Toffee's show, that we should have at most 8 direct invites to TI, and I would have preferred 6 and 10 qualified spots. But
I definitely agree with you when it comes to TI and the majors. Like, if anything, there should be more qualifiers, not less.
Exactly.
Given just how big these events are, I felt like I think it's okay the way Valve did it this TI, because I think historically the invites have been pretty good at predicting results, but this was the first TI where you have a wildcard team finishing second place, you have another wildcard team that just narrowly misses top 8 in complexity, you have MVP Phoenix who comes in through the online qualifiers, ends up finishing top 8. So to me, this was the first TI where like the invite system really broke down and showed some of its flaws.
I mean, I think that's a very good point, that in the past you've had your dares, you've had your MUFCs, you've had your arrows. But I mean, this year was the polar opposite. It wasn't just the records. It was, if you watch the games, there really wasn't a team that looked like they didn't belong there.
I can agree with that. All right, so as we wrap up this topic, any last thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, we're not inviting anyone to the summit. Fuck you, Charlie. Enjoy your qualifiers, you little shit. And yeah, there we go.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, why invite them? They may not even show up, from what I hear. They pick and choose. Do you have more than $200,000? Because I heard EG's on the fence if you've got that much money.
We're inviting Digital Chaos because Curtis is the real heart and soul of EG.
Nice.
My boy, AUI 2000.
Nice. I'll give you a point for cheeky. I'm gonna give you a point for cheeky.
He gets a point for that?
Cheeky. It was
The point
cheeky.
system is
I
dog
laughed.
shit.
You know what? I'll give you a point for that because it's probably true. That's a fair point. In fact, I'm giving you a half point, so you are now officially at 13. Welcome back from the point five.
Give up.
Welcome back.
Fuck you, Nahaz.
All right, let's talk. Let's see. What are we moving on to next topic? In-house leagues. This is a topic that came up. PPD put a nice post on a blog about it, about the value of in-house leagues. We've seen the first day of Face It was polite and lovely. After that, it turned into the shit show that a lot of us expected. Flames, NA Dota, all the fun stuff that makes everybody love watching FPL. How important do you think in-houses are to the success of the scene? And is there an answer besides being forced to play through something like an FPL?
I think they're hugely important. So forget PPD for a minute. Go back. I think it was about a year ago. IX Mike and Spitwad actually had a really nice post in NA Dota. I know those two usually don't go together, but they had a really nice post about the value of in-house leagues and their importance to the growth of the scene. And I think you saw that, on display at TI, where the 3 best players in the game, or the 4 best players at TI, were arguably Arteezy, Sumail, maybe, and now I'm forgetting CTY. Okay, and at least 3 out of those 4, arguably all 4, got to start.
That bucket.
CTY. Well, okay, fine. You toss it.
It's fair to put CTY in the same bucket as Sumail and Arteezy. I mean,
I also think
you not watch the games, Greg?
Yeah, Greg, where the fuck were you during TI?
Apparently, I was just busy.
Oh, apparently you were high every moment of every day.
Nahaz!
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
John, I'm giving you multiple points for that one.
We'll have a little discussion about this after the show. Fucking.
All right, so getting away from Greg's enjoyment of the Seattle laws and codes out there, let's get back. Let's roll this into a secondary topic that I think is adequate because you brought it up, and that is the rise of the pub star, which is something that we've seen a lot during this shuffle, making their way onto big teams. Is there a way for them to get discovered besides in-houses, or in-house is really the only way in for an up-and-coming talent?
Well, I mean, it starts with matchmaking, right? Like, you look at, you have all these, like, Weeha, Miracle. Before him, you had a lot of the players on CDEC. Maybe comes to mind as another really high MMR player. June got a shot. It didn't end up working out. You're not always going to necessarily work out as a pro player right off the bat at the absolute top level and win a lot of events, even if you have 8K MMR, but it definitely is a good way to filter, right? It's like getting a college degree. Sure, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good at the job, but it at least shows that you can stick with it long enough to graduate and that you're capable of finishing something. And to get to 8K MMR, first of all, you have to be fucking good at the game. And then you have to be willing to stick with it for a really long time and play a fuckload of Dota. So I think MMR is really, and just matchmaking in general, is the first thing. And a lot of players will get noticed from that. Those who don't, the in-house leagues are probably the most important second way. outside of that, you can make it a third way, which is to form a team with some players that are as established as you or relatively as established and work your way up. But that's tough, right? It's hard to have the leadership, to find the right group of players. Normally, those players don't play Dota full time, or if they do, they're very young and possibly immature. Because once you get to be, like 20 plus, you're in college or you have a job and you can only do it in the evening. So it's possible to make it as a team, and there have been groups that are successful that way. But I think the majority of new talent will be discovered through either just matchmaking or if not that, then in-houses.
I actually think in-houses are going to be the primary device. I can't imagine a player joining a top tier team that hasn't had at least some degree of success either previously in Pro Dota or in in-house leagues. It's increasingly very different. And I mean, by the way, there are examples though. Let's talk about Admiral Bulldog for a minute. He got discovered by Dendy in a pub. So
I mean, it found in a pub. It's a long shot, but it can happen.
It does happen. I think more and more you're going to see in-house leagues be the proving grounds, and I couldn't agree more that they're the minor leagues of Dota, man.
So if that's the case, if it's the minor leagues, if this is your chance to break into a scene that is becoming rapidly more difficult to break into, are things like a vouching system good or bad when it comes to in-houses? Should everyone be able to earn their way in, or should you have to be vouched by a player already in a league?
Well, FPL is not entirely a vouching system. You can play your way into that league.
Doesn't FPL Open like seed into it if you get like top 8 or something?
So I believe what happens is that they're league down from the pro league, which is either Diamond or Master, I forget. They have qualifiers into the point system, and I believe the top 3 end up earning their way.
Yeah, I think it's like you get into the top tier of like, and then there's some sort of playoff system as well.
Yeah, we can get Mikey on here to explain it, but the point is, I do think it's important. FPL, which to me is a very, very good product, does have some device that players can open and qualify. It isn't entirely closed valve.
Well, I haven't actually used it too much, but from what I've heard, the Faceit non-pro league, like everything that works up to the pro league where you can qualify, isn't very good compared to matchmaking. So
I haven't used it at all, and I haven't heard good things either. But I do like the concept of the pro league a lot. I think, by the way, there's no reason that we can't have something like that in the client. But Valve, this is players. I know for a fact because I've talked to Ike's Mike about it that they have asked Valve to provide native support to in-house leagues in the client, and they don't really.
So let me.
It's an interesting business model, right? Because if Valve decides to do that, then suddenly what is Faceit's business model?
Right.
I guess in CS:GO you have cheating, and they have an anti-cheat client, but
that's actually
free in Dota.
I mean, ESL makes it so.
Well, that's the thing at CS:GO. Like everyone will use it because there's cheating in the game, like major cheating. Yeah, Dota has scripting and the.
I was gonna say let's not write that up.
Okay, but that's not on the same scale as literally.
No.
Yeah. Also, you can when you're script, like you just watch back the replay and it's obvious they're scripting.
Yeah, it's tough to tell someone's wall hacking.
On CS:GO, it's much less clear.
Okay.
It's really hard to distinguish from someone who's like top tier pro and like hacking.
So what about the other side of the coin with in-house? And we'll talk specifically about, say, IXDL, NEL versus the move to FPL. And a lot of folks are saying previously anyone could technically play in IXDL. You could search for a vouch through IXDL and try to get into NEL, play with some players there. But now in order to get through qualifiers for FPL, you have to pay for a membership. You have to pay to be in Diamond League or whatever their ranking system is. Is that a fair way to do it? Is it okay that we shut down the free in-houses to make a paid system of in-house?
Well, how much are we talking?
It is, I think, $5.99 a month. Nahaz, not all of us are professors.
Okay, before we discuss this, can we confirm if IX Mike sold the fuck out and sold IXDL to FPL?
I've heard from some people, I cannot confirm it, that is what happened, but I don't know.
So IX Mike fucking changed and should never tweet again. Is that basically where we are right now?
Wow.
Wow. So, I mean, if it's
just
true,
saying,
I suppose.
Are you gaming, LD? You're gaming.
That's what I'm hearing right now from the good people in Twitch chat is that IX Mike sold the fuck out.
So I don't know.
True.
I don't know if it's true. Do you think it's
true?
true?
You know what? I still will. I've said this before.
I don't care at all. Good for him, but Mike's a hypocrite if he ever calls anyone else out again.
About 95% of people that complain about others selling out are just pissed off that nobody's buying their stuff.
Oh,
No, I'm 100% on the same page as you, Alan. I just want to make sure Mike gets put in his box now as a sellout.
I've been
Don't
pretty
let him
quiet
out.
on this entire topic. I mean, I think that in-house leagues make a lot of sense. Beyond that, like obviously they work because a lot of players have gotten discovered through them. I mean, I
Okay,
think they're good.
second
I
place
think there
team
can
at TI is literally an in-house team.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think there
That's
can
true.
only be like one popular one at a time, but I don't know. Whatever. I mean, they're great, obviously, and I think Faceit is killing it personally, and the way that they're running the league.
They put a good
It's obviously
model.
getting a lot more attention now.
They're tempting players to play with money. It is. It's working as a model.
It is a great product. If you watch the actual games, if you watch before TI when they had OD Pixel casting some of them, they were very entertaining. It was a very entertaining product to watch.
I think the appeal with a lot of the in-house leagues is very similar to like the appeal of the Summit All-Star match, where it's like you actually get to hear the players clowning around and like interacting with each other. Where, let's say you like Arteezy and you watch a stream, you don't really see him talking to people very much. Maybe he'll yell at his pubs, but it's a very one-way, kind of discussion. Like he's the 8K player, they're a bunch of noob shits. When it's FPL, it's a little more a group of peers, and you get that like interesting back and forth. So I think it has a ton of value, especially with the voice communication. I think they have it automated now, where when you like join an FPL lobby, it like auto moves you into channels and Mumble or TeamSpeak or something. So,
And it really is. I mean, there is real innovation that go on in these leagues. Like literally, the Yule's SF build really did come from NEL, and I actually think it's very interesting to watch and see some of the item builds, some of the hero builds that these guys experiment with.
All right, we're going to leave it at that. I'm going to hit the buzzer. That's the end of that topic, and we are moving into our last topic here for the night, because I'm not going to run a 3-hour talk show like other folks in this channel have before. And we are going to jump into the last one.
What the fuck?
So
Give yourself a point for that. That was
Fuck off.
solid.
That show is entertaining as fuck. Okay, except for Charlie.
Charlie's basically on the show right now. Have you seen him in chat lately? Like,
it's true, except that like I used to watch it, and I'd actually actively watch David falling asleep throughout the course of the show and just being like,
Oh, that's because that's
my
the
God,
alcohol.
Is
Not
this
David.
ending? All right, so here's the last topic. We're going to talk about it briefly, mostly because I just want to hear your opinions. It is new teams. The shuffle is over. The team lists are out. Who do you like, and who are you excited to watch?
all right, so everyone likes EG, so let's not even talk about that. Let's.
Fuck EG.
Is there a place where we can like look at all the rosters and there was like a Reddit post, right?
It's still up there on the top of Reddit, and honestly, that's the easiest, most accessible place to do it. So
Thank
go
you,
over-
Ardota 2. You do a lot of stupid shit, but this thing you did well.
Amen.
Someone link that.
It's really it's the number
Are
one.
you
post on Reddit.
serious,
It's the
Greg?
top of the. I'm taking away a point, you lazy
Oh
bastard.
my God.
Nobody
wow.
nobody clicks on the pinned post
All
actually.
right, yeah, to be honest, these
Interesting.
green posts are normally pointless, so I
That's
just
true.
don't exist.
It's
I'll
normally
get-
it's normally the mods like jerking themselves off.
Yeah,
and-
it's like, oh, we're so great. We made a new subreddit style.
Well,
Hey, guys, pay attention to
Okay,
me.
I will actually talk about the question that our host asked.
Oh, fuck you points getter. Disgusting.
What the fuck, man? I don't know how to click the top post on Reddit. I need to link in fucking Sky or whatever chat this is.
I found it, okay? You
Oh,
know,
congratulations, Greg. You want a cookie?
no.
He had a sandwich earlier.
I had half of a sandwich earlier.
The team that I really liked, I mean, they really looked flat in their initial appearance in the ESL qualifiers. I still like the 5 Jungles team. I like Kuro's team a lot. I think Matumaman had games where he was just brilliant with 4ASC. Fada obviously was one of the top mids in the game this last season. Jerax actually is very underrated support. His numbers were very, very good with MVB Hot 6 in terms of his assist rate. And Mind Control, I've heard very good things about his offlane play. So, I mean, I think they have a chance to be good right away. But there are a lot of these teams that do.
Okay, so is that the team that you're going to be watching?
Yeah, I'm interested. I actually like the Monkey Freedom Force thing too, just because.
just for the
Yeah.
name.
Just for did you see the logo, the troll logo?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
But I mean, I like that team. I think Mad's drafts are always going to be really solid. I actually do. gonna get big time flame for this, but I actually really like watching Sing Sing play competitive Dota. I think he's a good player.
Why are you gonna get flamed for that? That's a,
Yeah, man.
Everybody-
enjoy his play.
Everybody loves to
person
hate.
by
Everybody
Reddit,
loves to
dude.
hate on Sing Sing because of his
Fuck
his
Reddit.
stream, but
I don't know, man. I saw that
I
kid.
get
I,
it.
I saw that kid's autograph line at TI. It was insane.
yeah, he's an awesome. And it should be like he's actually he's a really cool guy.
Okay, so I want to throw a team out there. I'm sure none of you guys have seen them play yet. I cast them yesterday versus Mineski. Mineski is like pretty much this all-star roster from the Philippines. Tons of individual talent, but teamwork hit or miss. Like they have players that can play really well together. I think they got their hearts broken when Fnatic took them out in the ESL qualifiers 2 days ago.
Right.
It was, but TNC to me is kind of a sleeper team to watch in Southeast Asia. The difference between TNC and Mineski is TNC actually is a team, whereas Mineski to me is still five like superstar, ultra popular players. I mean, Mineski, the organization is like 1.5 million Facebook followers. Everyone, like people in the Philippines are living in an alternate universe. They all use Facebook exclusively. It's like their main way of communicating. So these players have like literally like 6-digit like Facebook followers, you know, not actual like friends, but followers on their personal profiles, which is kind of weird because they share all kinds of shit on there that I wouldn't. They're all a bit young and different, but TNC to me is a team to keep an eye on from Southeast Asia.
Is it the same roster, by the way? Is it the same roster that they competed in the qualifiers with?
I don't think so. I believe they changed fairly recently.
Okay.
But I just got the sense watching them. Like, this is a team that has a clear leader. Like, you look at CDEC, like, Q was a clear leader for the team. Very different from IG, where IG, to me, had, like, the ultimate all-star syndrome. You've got 5 amazing individual players. The biggest game that they won the entire tournament was the Burning Anti-Mage game, and it was literally a one-man show. Like, not to say everyone else played like shit, but the whole game plan was, like, this one guy is going to win us the game, instead of, like, we will work together as a team to win the game. So,
well, I mean, let's just not forget also, they did not play individually all that well either. I mean, their team play was bad, their execution was bad, but I mean,
Secret got anti-maged. Let's be real here.
Right, exactly.
As excited as I got watching the match, yeah, I have a bit of a hard-on for Burning. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but they got anti-maged.
I have two teams that I'm interested in mostly.
Okay.
One of them is No Tail's team.
Okay.
If only because it's a combination of region. It has Crit on it, who's a player who I think possibly has never really had a chance to show how good he is. I don't know. I've seen Crit play some games where I'm like, holy shit, that guy is insane. And from what I've heard, Fly was kind of a big contributor to the success that Complexity had at TI.
he was very, very good.
I'm pretty. I mean, even as far as like drafting and mentality, I mean, they're not even like in game.
What do we think about what do we think about Miracle though?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no clue. But I'm really interested in this team just because I have no idea about Miracle. I think it's interesting that Moon and Fly are playing on it with No Tail.
No Tail's also in a core
moved to
role
mid.
Yeah, he's also a core now.
Back the role that he played in Han.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
And was
lot of
quite-
reasons
and
that
was
I'm
very
really
well known
interested
for.
in this team. Those are kind of the chief ones. The other one, which is more of a personal thing, is Fog's new team. Just because if you look at the players on that team, there's that chance that any day it could actually nuclearly explode. But also, obviously, Fog and Chatter on that team.
I've become a pretty big Mason fan lately. I actually read through his AskFM. You know, obviously you don't know everything about a person for that, but so Mason doesn't have like a gigantic follower base, right? Like, it's not like he's doing PR when he answers questions on AskFM or you know. And first of all, that's not his personality anyway. But it seems to me, just judging from what he said there, as well as just his general demeanor more publicly, that he has matured a lot, and I think he's a great talent. He got replaced by Fear, but that was much more just like a comfort teammate for PPD. They had kind of come up together with the old sad boys, so it's natural that if you're gonna pick between Mason or Fear, it's like picking between AUI and Arteezy in a way. Like, it's not saying AUI shit or that you wouldn't never team with him.
Yeah.
Although Mason definitely had more like issues at the time. It was.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that comparison at all. But I will say I thought
Not at
Mason,
all. I think there's
Mason
an element.
played really well for EG. He had a small hero pool, but a lot of people do when they first start playing competitive Dota. He had some really good games for them, and I think he gets hated on a lot, and I don't think that that's necessarily fair. He's a pretty darn good player.
Okay, well, I also had the pleasure of being there when Mason won his first big tournament, the Summit 1, and witnessing the aftermath. So
It was hope that happens again.
Let's just say he unlocked our tour's inner our tour.
I see.
I'll leave it at that.
More than a screen door got destroyed, huh?
Really?
No, it wasn't a screen door, dude. It was a real door, like a bedroom door. The hinges. Ripped
didn't
the
know that?
hinges off the wall.
The hinges.
Well, it was like tours.
right.
Did Mason do more than a door? Is I think the question here.
No. He didn't do
But Mason
physical.
and
It wasn't
Artur
physical
together-
damage. It was spiritual pain.
Mason and Artur together is like this disgusting cycle of energy. At like last year's TI, it was definitely evident. It was crazy. But
I don't think they should team together. But
No, I would agree with that.
okay, other teams. What do you guys think about Digital Chaos and Complexity? These seem to be like to me the two other pretty big teams that we haven't talked about from North America.
Right.
Complexity,
Thoughts?
as far as I know, still does the same thing they did in TI. Like they just 5-man. I don't have a lot of faith, to be honest. Digital Chaos, I think, will be the second best team in NA.
I liked Complexity a lot, mostly because I give them a lot of credit. They improved hugely between the qualifiers and the main event.
Okay,
I think if
I
they
actually don't think is true. Okay, here's my take on. I mean they improved a little bit. I think, but here's my theory.
their execution was much. If they had
It was much
shown
better,
up
yeah.
at TI, executing the same way that they did in the qualifiers, they would have gotten crushed.
Sure,
This
but
team
okay.
is fair.
Here's my
That's fair.
theory about Complexity. If you like look at most of their drafts during the qualifiers, I think they were playing that 5-man stuff back then.
Sure.
Like the same thing they played in TI. Like then they were playing it.
Sure.
I think TI was like that weekend, and they just started playing that. They would have gotten like top 4 or something. Because they were destroying during the qualifiers, but I don't think they're still doing the same thing.
I think that's totally wrong, and I think it's
fair enough.
look. This is I mean, people. It's the same shit that people say about CDEC. I've heard of a ton of people say, "Oh well, it was just because it was a 1-week tournament." You know, CDEC they did the same thing every game. People are going to figure that out. You know what? When you run a strat and you just play it really, really, really well, we learned this at TI3 with Alliance. It's hard to beat, man.
Does anyone else feel like, on a totally unrelated note, that it's kind of like a way of like just like underhandedly flaming a team? Like, they just 5-man. Like I actually hear a lot of pro players say this about teams that do really well. Like, oh yeah, all they do was 5-man. They're not really that good. Like,
well, guess what? Dota's 5v5, man.
and also, I want to point out, it also happens a lot to Chinese teams that do better than expected. Newbie,
Yes.
CDEC, like. Yeah, they were good to 5-man. It was a 5-man patch. Like,
Who says that about?
There's a lot of people that say that.
If they're good at
There are.
5-manning, then
Okay.
they're good at team play, which is fucking Dota.
Right.
That's our timer. You guys can claim 45 seconds, those of you who haven't, if you want to go off on it. But that's our last topic
I
for
have
the
no
night.
45 seconds for this.
All right, fair enough. So we're going to go to the scoreboards as we wrap up the show tonight. Greg coming in third place, ass-handed too, at 22 points, having a rough night. Maybe we just had some topics you didn't know anything about, or maybe it was that sandwich slowing you down earlier, Greg. But
Blame the
sorry.
topics.
All right. So
Topics that I went ham on, I easily won, so fuck you all.
all right. So fuck us all, Greg. You are out. Second
Do you
place.
have the mute function for Greg like we do on Around the Horn? Because that'd be wonderful.
Oh, yeah, no, he can't talk anymore. He's absolutely muted. Next up, Nahaz comes in second place, 31. Actually had LD beat at the first buzzer, but LD changed the subject and went off on his 5-man
Mafia.
insult tangent and picked
I love
up
it.
2 points.
That was
and
worthy.
able
That
to
was
secure.
worthy.
So he secures the win off a clever backhanded play, takes over the lead from Nahaz. Nahaz, great having you. We'll do a sign out at the end of the night, but for now, the mic is yours. Mr. Gorman, you have 1 minute and you can talk about anything you damn well please.
Oh dear, I was not prepared for this. This is out of nowhere. Well, I gotta say, it was a pleasure dumpstering you, Nahaz. Greg, I don't even count you in the discussion. Like I knew I was gonna beat you already, so you're trash. You'll never defeat me. And that's all I got, really. Shout out to my boy K-Pop Tosis holding down the fort. And yeah, Gods is okay. Merlini sucks because he never hangs out. Nahaz, you're probably Mafia, but I'll let you live another day. I'd like you back on the show next week.
Fair enough. So that's not a bad monologue, not the best I've ever heard, but we'll fire the mics back up so we can say goodnight to everybody. And I appreciate you guys being here. Any last thoughts before we sign out, Nahaz? Shout outs, etc.
It was a pleasure being here and getting dumpstered. At least I'm not as dumpstered as Greg.
And speaking of the master of being dumpstered, Greg, any sign out thoughts, sir?
This is horseshit, first of all. Second of all,
Do you mean horse shit or hippo shit? I'm confused.
oh, I
Or
don't
duck
know.
shit.
Yeah,
I never really know
hippos
anymore.
on planets, whatever. Thank you guys for actually. On a serious note, I got a really lot of nice messages from people when I announced that I left Vulcan, and I'm already working on new stuff, so I'm not dead. Don't worry about it. But thank you.
Do you want to talk about what you're working on, Greg? Or
please.
No, definitely not.
all right, I'm gonna blow up your Skype here.
Dude,
Nice,
yeah, I bet you
nice.
are.
Hopefully it's a date. And any last words, David? Any shout outs you want to throw up before we sign out of this one?
Shout out to you, Mr. Toffees. Enjoyed the show. I think we need to get Charlie on next week.
All right. So,
Check
guys,
That's about it.
Charlie.
Maybe
Guys-
Conrad, although he needs to go a little more ham than he
No,
normally does.
Conrad's too nice for these sorts of shows. Dude.
Yeah, all right, Charlie.
We've
Then.
been over
Oh, don't undersell Conrad.
No.
But we got to have Charlie. I want to go with LD and Charlie.
All right, so guys, stick around. Next week we're gonna be back. I had fun. I want to do it again, so we'll be back next Sunday night. The automatic invitation goes out to LD, and if you guys are interested, if you watch the show and you're like, man, I really want to be on that thing, get in touch with me because we'd love to have you. Of course, Nahaz, Greg, it was great having you guys here. I don't know why I don't call you Alan. You have a real fucking name. Greg and Nahaz, it was great having you here. I really enjoyed it. You guys can find me at Toffees_Dota2. The show brought to you by the folks over at Razer. It was great having you. This was the first test episode, guys. So a lot of stuff I tried out. Some of it failed miserably. Some of it I think worked. Let me know what you did and didn't like. That goes for you guys too. As my guinea pigs, I appreciate you being on the show tonight. So come back, see us again. Have a wonderful evening. And as always, Toffees out.